Hello everyone, всем привет! A new round of qualifiers happened in Gwent. Those were the last top 16 qualifiers of the year. They are happening very early in the meta development, since the qualifiers are happening literally 5 days after the patch, and we had a hotfix as well. So let's dive into the meta report, but mind that it is a very early and very developing meta, so some of the cards might be out of favor and other cards were not discovered yet, didn't find their place in the meta. Всем привет! Небольшой мета-репорт с топ-16 квалифайеров. Поехали. Okay, so let's go. This was top 16. Next week we'll have top 64, so maybe a broader variety of decks will be brought to us, but let's see the bracket first. We see that two TLG players, Competent and Piable, managed to reach the top bracket, winners bracket final, with Competent getting that slot in the open number 3, and then in losers bracket, Piable beaten Redraim with a grand return to Gwent, stopping one step away from qualifying. So those are the results. We had a bunch of players that played it throughout the last weekend, with TLG prevailing, and let's see what did the winners bring. They both brought Imprisonment, Royal Inspiration, Lined Pockets, and Guerrilla Tactics. I'm switching it, but deck's order is different. Also thanks is C card gaming for the visual materials, helps with preparation for the video. But same leaders, same faction: Syndicate, Squaretel, NR, and Nilfgaard, and both Paya and Kerb were playing almost identical lists. So let's see what was there. Syndicate, 16 out of 16 players brought them. It happened in the previous qualifiers round as well. Golden Nekker, Sirenova seems like a decent building block for that deck. A couple of changes from the last season, since Failed Experiment was nerfed and requires 4 coins to transfer poison to opponent side of the board. As we see here, it wasn't excluded from TLG's lineup. Also, we see that Salamander Lackey is there, the card that removes statuses from your card and gives you coins, maybe giving you extra spending on things like Candle, Drill, etc. Candle wasn't nerfed, maybe to some extent surprising decision for some players, but it still can spend to no avail. So that's the Syndicate, we talked about it, it's a very powerful deck. It's usually what gets banned, but there is a big but. There is a Nilfgaard in the meta, and a good Nilfgaard, a powerful Nilfgaard. The soldiers got buffed. And Three's Meteor Shower maybe got nerfed by 1 provision, but it's still playing for an insane value in that deck, in any Renfri deck, but especially in this one. So that's what we see, a soldier package intervened with the Renfri deck of the last season, plus a couple of assimilate units to get the boost. But yeah, one of the main offenders of the early meta, Crossbowman, got an immediate hotfix. So as we see in Kerb's and Piable's lineup, there are no Crossbowmen in either of the decks, but there is another offender. It's a Nausicaa Sergeant that is playing as 10-point card for 5 provisions on deploy, being a 4-point soldier body that gives creates a battle prep, so that's a synergy with your assimilate, plus it provides you with armor that occasionally, well, first of all, it synergizes with Slave Driver. You're not hitting your unit, you're hitting your unit's armor now. So a very powerful deck that can put bodies on board, multiple bodies per turn, activating your 3 Meteor Shower quite fast, providing her with like 4 powered bodies, but there is also Renfri's gang, there is also Arfane Tortoises there to provide those bodies. So that's the deck, that's Soldier Package. Slave Hunter is maybe an unexpected inclusion because not really. It's a 4-point body that provides you with token that you can later transform or purify. But yeah, we see that 2 main decks that were brought by all the players are Renfri decks and Golden Nekker decks. Okay, there were some players who instead of Golden Nekker Syndicate brought a Devotion King of Beggars version, but they didn't reach finals, so something must have been wrong with the lineup. Between the leader choices, Imprisonment and Double Cross seem to be split 50-50. We'll look into the stats later, but that seems to be the vibe. So 2 decks done with, moving on. Scoia'tael is the 3rd most popular faction. The final build is not that clear. Some decided to go for double scenario, 2 players. Others for elves, but the triumphants of the qualis decided to bring Saskia Commander and Waters and Harmony Scenarios. So it's basically a harmony with Saskia. There are a couple of cards in the deck that are not synergizing much with the Saskia, those being Cat Witcher Saboteur that doesn't get its deploy, and then maybe you can argue that if round happened like this, you can't pull accidentally your Poisoned Riot, but it's still a Harmony engine, so it's still attack for Weeping Willow, click on the melee. A popular deck, this is the winning build. This version runs Curse Scroll, so that your round 1 hand on blue coin is even better than what you potentially are drawing through your mulligans. An interesting inclusion here is Seamless. This is not your Vanadine Seamless Alisa combo. This lineup that was prepped and that won the qualifiers runs Seamless with a double Bountiful Harvest. So Bountiful Harvest might not create a variety of decks, it only creates elves. But there are hits in those between those elves that are potentially playing for 8+ points. Archer, Brokilon Archer is one of them. If there is a target, she creates another token, and if there is a scenario on board, that's more than 8 points in the end. Antirion didn't get touched, as Harmony with Waters, Lake Guardian and Scenario seems quite insane, and there is a Saskia, so if you want to climb, this is the deck that got me to the pro ladder this season, and well, it's good. But you can also play the 2 decks that I mentioned previously. Line Pockets, probably much better on blue coin, but should be fine. You can play it on red coin as well. Nilfgaard was a choice for players to bring in the tournament on the red coin. I think majority of the games were played from the red. Now the last deck, the 4th faction, it's up for debate between Skellige, NR, Monsters. So we see that Paya and Kerpeten opted in for the Royal Inspiration, a deck that was brought by more players last qualis if I'm not mistaken, but here the split between Monsters and Skellige was less, not less, still 6 players brought NR, but yeah, you might have expected more from the blue faction. So what the deck runs? It's a scenario deck. So we see that the main building blocks of all the successful decks are Renfri with trees, Golden Nekker, mostly with poison, but there was also Skellige Golden Nekker with compass. And the last one is Scenario. Harmony Scenario. Saskia basically qualifies as a scenario, working as an engine, but not every turn, bringing units every 3 turns. And Knights is a scenario deck as well, so we see that Heatwave is in 2 out of 4 decks here for Carpet, and you cannot run it in line pockets, of course. And well, for Nilfgaard you just have a sheer power of point slammy cards that maybe help you to bleed the scenario out. Knights with, well, majority of the Knights, you don't see Reinhardt Order and a Bronze Knight or 2. I think there is one that is not included that is being pulled from scenario, gets +3, but most of them are there. The deck also runs Vandercrypt. It vomits so many points with in the scenario round, you wouldn't believe it. So even like 30-40 point gap still occasionally allows players to push. So those are the 4 main factions. What is there to point out? I mentioned that Nilfgaard was brought from the red coin when you go in second mostly, but Guerrilla Tactics Scoia'tael was there for the blue coin because of the curse scroll. But even from the red, with Saskia in hand, it's a scary machine. Syndicate, almost unchanged. As I mentioned, the Salamandra Abomination might be the only card that caused some perturbation in the deck building. And Knights and their Knightly Duty. So those are the 2 players who qualified for the Open. Now we still have to wait till the weekend to finalize the Open lineup with 2 more players. But let's see the decks and the structure. You can see Nilfgaard brought by everyone, Syndicate brought by everyone, but there is a Devotion King of Beggars deck. Scoia'tael, I think 1 player here decided not to bring it, opting for Vampires instead. Vampires or Knights, your choice. There is as I mentioned, Elf players and Guerrilla Tactics players, and some of them were also double scenario Guerrilla Tactics players. And there is a fair split between the 3 factions that are competing for the 4th faction slot. Yeah, this is represented. Thank you, Lerio, for doing the stats for the community. It's always interesting to see what's in there. So 6 players with NR, 4 players with Skellige, 7 players in total full monsters, 2 of them with Keltulis, and 5 Vampire Renfri players. That's how meta shaped out. We can look into the cards, but yeah, you can mention that Geralt Igni was in the winning lineup, brought by both Paya and Kerpeten. Geralt Igni is in Nilfgaard, and well, monsters players cannot let go of the card as well. And even some of the NR players included it. Triss, even after nerf, makes appearance both in Skellige, the Renfri Skellige version, and in most of the Nilfgaard's lineups. And I think, yeah, this is it for the stats. Bans, well, Syndicate was eating a lot of bans previous qualis. Nothing changed, you'd say. But no, Nilfgaard became most played and the most broken faction at the release, so a lot of players opted into banning Nilfgaard instead. Other factions, well, they got a pass. I wonder if this Northern Realms Scoia'tael ban came from somebody running Keltulis and trying to outplay Syndicate with their whales, maybe. If we're talking about win rate, you can see the blue coin Syndicate win rate pretty great, red coin not so much, but overall decent win rate. But I wanted to point out this imprisonment non-devotion Renfri with Igni with decent numbers of 80 plus, especially on the red coin where it was mostly played. Some of those blue coin games are potentially just mirrors, or opponents having a player having to get through his Nilfgaard from multiple attempts, so both coins are present. Where is this in NR? NR on blue, 45% win rate, on red 50% win rate. Not the best win rate, but it's done its job by the end. So we talked about the people qualified. Let's look what was Realms and other top 4 of the losers bracket participants. So Realms first. He modified the Syndicate to still run Salamander Lackey as the TLG boys did, but he also ran Salamander Assassin that synergizes with Poisons and Bounty, and Slander is there, so a small package that definitely makes it different from the winning Syndicate. Imprisonment runs one spotter that we didn't see, but yeah, the soldier package is very good. It synergizes between themselves. It is providing you very good targets for Ramon, bodies for trees. If you are interested, go to comeptitive Twitter. He made a post about that card. While we can appreciate crossbowmen getting a slight nerf, we still seen crossbowmen in a couple of decks in top 16, but Nausicaa is just too good to be truth. It was a somewhat vanilla engine before for Nilfgaard. It's changing to point slam card. Might have taken it a tad too far. Irondite, that was nerfed and forbidden from being run in Golden Nekker decks, is yeah, the card. But I think this Realms Knights, if you are deciding to play it, be aware that it runs Gerhard here instead of Heatwave. So you have an enabler for your Grace, because Gerhard on Deploy creates Pact immediately, so you can boost something up, reach the Grace, provide you with the extra scenario point. And there is a toe that is quite good to play around poisons. You can allow your opponent to poison something like Vandergrift or a tall Windhelm, and then just protect it from the second poison with the whale from toe. So that's the difference for this. And for Guerrilla Tactics, it's a greedier version. You see that there is no Curse Scroll, there is a Saber that activates your Harmony proc if you go Percival immediately. But yeah, it's a riskier build in that regard, because you can just miss your good card round 1 on blue coin and have no access to it, which makes it harder. But other than that, it's still a seamless Saskia Harmony deck. So pretty close, and it's nice to see Realms back to competing in Gwent. Good luck in top 64. So Pepe Smile is a player who came close to semi-finals, maybe even finals of qualifiers, but sadly didn't make it to the big tournament yet, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you can see there is a variety. Bloodsent, Renfri Vampires with Igni are there. We've seen this deck perform quite well on the ladder, definitely, but also it was brought to the qualis before. It is a deck powered by a bronze package of vampires with Fladders and Neckorats, and it plays for the last say Regis with the Renfri boost. But it seemed to be a bit of an underachiever in the end, in this iteration of qualifiers. We see that Pepe Smile is also running Zoltan Warrior and Oak in his square tile. There is also seamless with Waylay, so not everyone is bringing literally the same deck, because people maybe TLG and Redrain repping together, but other players are having their own ideas. And for Nilfgaard you can also see double cross instead of imprisonment. Vilgefortz is there, so a slightly different bronze lock is there as well. But still, slave infantry, Nausicaa, slave drivers are all present in this Renfri deck. Also, I think I didn't mention that Redrain was not running Townsfolk in his Syndicate. That's what Salamander Assassin is for there. And there is also a freak show to get this bounty value. So this is Pepe Smile. Grand Kazuzu brought 3 Renfri decks and 1 Golden Nekker deck. Speaking of building blocks for the deck building, quite reliable things. Big fan of Rune Mage by the looks of it for the Renfri, to not miss that clutch ability that you want to hit. But yeah, you can check all the different iterations in the video description. I'll put the stats from Lerio, and the deck lists from the tournament platform will be available there. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. That would be always of help for the channel. Hope you are enjoying the content. I'm trying to bring the meta lists. I know I mentioned that it's an early meta list, but still, not everyone has time to follow the tournaments. And then there is is this the last one? Yeah, I think it's the last player from the bottom bracket that was close to qualifying. This is the famed double scenario deck that I mentioned for square tile. Feign Death and Mysteries of Locthwain. So you go with Feign Death on the blue coin, proc it, get your tempo pass maybe, or get into the position where you are definitely winning round 1. And then you have your Seamless Vanadine Alisa combo with Waylays and Harmony scenario. Agree the deck, might miss its cards, runs only Maxi, and not, well, an Aeromancy, but not much beyond that for the tutoring, and not much of Tinin. There is no Saskia. This is the Skellige player as well. We see Renfri pirates, not Golden Nekker pirates. So if you are longing for the Isles, for the sea, you can bring that to the ladder. All decks that I showcased here are definitely playable on ladder. Maybe Nilfgaard and Syndicate will be an easier feat for you to go with in the ranking climbing, but yeah, most of them are pretty good. So those are the decks. You can, for example, take the not this page. Yeah, the page has been lost because I changed it. Yeah, you can take this page and have all of them, or alternatively the bracket. If you go to the players tab, it also has all of them. You can also check how people were queuing, which deck was preferred for something by clicking the exact match you want to see. You see who goes first, who goes second, and what they are queuing on what coin. So a pretty informative resource, although it is being broken for day 2 because of the secrecy, so you don't really see all of the information here regarding bans, for example. And that's where we're gonna be wrapping it up. Thanks for watching, and till the next time, don't forget to do all the YouTube things, and bye-bye. Всем спасибо, кто смотрел. До следующего видео. Пока.